A very good evening, everybody, and we are now back with Top Cut of the Masters Division after seeing a very strongly played finals in the Seniors Division. We are going to start with the top 8, of course, with the top seed against the 8th seed in the quarterfinals of this Singapore Video Game Regional Championships, VGC 2015, of course. My name is Shang Lo, and joining me on microphone is Amir.
Hello. For the top 8 here, we have Teron versus Sean. Both of them are quite familiar in the Singapore Pokémon video game community. With Teron, one of the top 3 in Singapore is kind of in the running for Worlds.
An interesting story actually between these two players for this tournament. Sean and Theron here both played each other in the first round of Swiss, and in that game Theron actually won the first game. But Sean actually bubbled in 8 at 8th seed for the top cut, precisely because he played Theron and Theron went undefeated in Swiss, and therefore he had a high enough resistance in order to proceed into the top cut. So, Sean both has Theron to thank and for getting into top cut, but now he's got to take him down in order to proceed.
Well, the funny thing for both of them is that usually in a best out of 3, your first game is where you take information, but for both of them, most of the information comes from Swiss.
Exactly. As we see players exchanging a friendly handshake here, both these guys are not just competitors, but also friends in real life as well. So it's going to be a really good match, I can tell right from the get-go. As Sean's team is Metagross, Terrakion, Heatran, Scrafty, Gothitelle, and Amoonguss, whereas Theron's team on the bottom screen, which you've seen on stream before, is that Thundurus, Bisharp, Gengar, Kangaskhan, Terrakion, and the Sylveon.
As we have seen on stream earlier, we know that the Teron actually has a double Mega option with Mega Gengar and Mega Kangaskhan. But Sean here pretty much only has one Pokemon that he can use for Mega, which is the Metagross. Metagross against Gengar, not really an ideal situation for Sean unless Metagross can somehow outspeed the Gengar and launch off, let's say, a Sand type.
Yeah, but in this case, with Mega Gengar gaining that extra 20-point speed boost when it goes into this Mega form and preventing Metagross from actually switching out, that might be interesting. But Sean has a trap of his own. He has that Gothitelle with his Shadow Tag ability of its own to prevent Theron from possibly switching as freely as he would otherwise like. Yeah. But however, in this case, with Gothitelle weak to Shadow Ball from Gengar, Sean's trap is going to be definitely harder to maintain compared to Theron's.
Sean will probably want to concentrate more on being able to either get out of a trap or to have a good matchup in a trap. As you mentioned, Sean's trap isn't as great, so Sean trying to trap Theron doesn't exactly make too much sense here.
I think the key Pokemon for Sean in this best of 3 is going to be that Amoonguss. Theron doesn't really have that many spread moves. The only spread moves he has are possibly that, the Hyper Voice on the Sylveon and the Rock Slide on the Terrakion. So Amoonguss being able to redirect single target attack here is going to be huge. As Sean leads with this Terrakion Gothitelle actually.
So both trainers actually leading with their trap option with Gothitelle on Sean's side and Gengar on Terran's side. Well, both actually kind of have an advantage over each other with Terrakion being able to launch a powerful Rock Slide against Thundurus, while Theron himself has Gengar to deal with Gothitelle.
The thing about Sean's charge trap here is that he gets it off on the first turn, as Gothitelle has Shadow Tag as its natural ability. However, for Theron to get his trap online, he has to Mega Evolve his Gengar, and therefore Sean is able to switch this turn and get himself into a more favorable position, as he does make full use of that turn where he's not trapped to get out his Terrakion there to bring in his Scrafty.
Scrafty here launching Intimidate, not really mattering on Gengar or Thundurus, both being special attackers. And Gengar does Mega Evolve, now trapping Sean's own Pokemon instead. So Sean is now trapped with Scrafty and Gothitelle, but not too bad of a position, with Scrafty being able to deal well with Gengar.
As Sean goes to protect with his Gothitelle, but Theron goes straight with the Shadow Ball onto the Scrafty. Not very effective, but gets that special defense drop. As Thunderbolt double targets into the Scrafty, gonna do a lot of damage with the critical hit and the special defense drop. Scrafty takes a whole bucket load of damage there. Not what he wanted to see to start off the game.
Space value it may not be too much of a factor with that special defense drop, as it's still a 2-hit KO on Thunderous side. However, if Sean does have to say switch in and switch out later once it's not trapped, it may actually affect him later in the game. However, I don't really see that too happening too much since both are trapping each other anyway.
Scrafty, though, one of those bulky Pokemon, doesn't like to take too much damage, especially from untimely critical hits and special defense drops. So one of Sean's bulkiest Pokemon there, taking a lot of damage from turn 1, not the play that he was expecting. He was probably protecting his Gothitelle to prevent a potential Shadow Ball Thunderbolt double target into it, but Theron completely read that play and went for the double target into the Terrakion slot instead.
Well, I mean, Theron is the person who went undefeated in Swiss, so you would need to have that kind of prediction skills to be able to get this far in this tournament.
And like you said previously, Sean and Theron know each other very well. They play each other many times, and they've already played each other once with this team in the first round of Swiss. So you have to think that there is going to be some really high-level predictions going on here. Gothitelle having Burns protect the previous turn, though, means that it probably is going to go for maybe a support move here, as Gengar Shadow Ball is going to go right up onto the Gothitelle, going to do a lot of damage. Does it get the KO? No! Gothitelle with the critical hit, hangs on and gets a special defense drop, and Thunderous flinches, but Gothitelle gets in the Trick Room, and that is huge.
That critical hit would have actually saved Terra from the Trick Room, however, Gothitelle actually survives with a sliver of health and managed to get out of the Trick Room. Now, Sean has the advantage in this scenario.
That Gothitelle can have more than, 4 HP left. The critical hit, Dice Roll is really going in Theron's favor early on in this game with critical hits and special defense drops, flying left and right. But Sean crucially is able to set up that Trick Room, and therefore, able to start getting some damage off with this slower Scrafty.
Yeah. Well, we get to see how actually tanky this Gothitelle actually is, being able to survive a super effective critical hit from Gengar, one of the Pokemon with one of the largest special attacks in the game.
Trick Room Gothitelle was a really popular strategy late in the 2014 metagame when Aaron Zheng popularized the Gothitelle Mawile team. So it'd be a real throwback to 2014 if, Gothitelle actually goes for a tickle here to try to lower Gengar's attack, and we lose the tickle! The tickle does come out from the Gothitelle onto the Thunderous, dropping its attack, but crucially dropping its defense, allowing Scrafty to get an Ice Punch on Thunderous! The plus one Ice Punch!
It's an Ice Punch!
That is
a critical hit!
What a massive play by Sean there, reading the Gengar Protect and going for the tickle Ice Punch onto the Thunderous.
The critical hit is just icing on the cake, getting the one-hit KO
And I was just talking about, Tickle Gothitelle being a thing in 2014, but Sean's showing that, it's not out of fashion yet, as, oh my goodness, what a play. I mean, now with Gengar having Burn to protect the previous turn, Sean can, Theron's in a pretty interesting position where if he tries to protect with his Terrakion to stall out the Trick Room, he might be eating another Tickle, maybe a knockoff, into the Gengar as well. And he might be losing Pokemon turn after turn because in this Trick Room. And by the time Trick Room ends, he's in a position where he can't recover.
Yeah, I mean, with one Pokemon protecting the previous turn and the other just coming out, you can't really have them protect both at the same time. Gengar still has that chance of failing protect. It's still possible to get the protect through, but it's only a 50% chance, and I'm not really sure Terra wants to take that chance.
Exactly. This early on in the game, perhaps it's not that imperative to take, to roll 30% dice. Maybe later on in the game, like we saw when Melvin had no other choice but to go for a double protect. Theron here definitely still has options. Gengar being Ghost type and having that Shadow type ability means that it can switch out of Gothitelle's trap here. Similarly, Gothitelle has that Shadow tag and can switch out itself as well. So, interesting game of traps here where Shadow tag is preventing the partners from switching, but at this rate, it looks like Sean is going to be able to hold out his trap longer than Theron.
Well, I mean, Theron does have a V-Sharp on this team, so switching out to a V-Sharp against the Tickle may be quite advantageous for Theron.
I just can't get over that Tickle Ice Punch.
That
was hype.
That was huge.
Oh my goodness. Sean pulling out all the tricks. I mean, he's already lost the first game here, so he's got to play it really smartly. As Theron's going to send out his Bisharp here, into a possible tickle, but no tickle this time. Gothel goes straight for the side shot onto Terrakion. Not gonna drop it up, but Scrappy doubles into the Terrakion. Gets the KO. Picking up 2 KOs in 2 consecutive turns. Fantastic play for Sean here.
That was a wonderful read on Sean's side. Knowing that Terra's going to switch out onto a Basha, not going for the tickle at it at all, not going to risk the Defiant boost, and just aiming straight for the Terrakion, which didn't protect on that turn.
Sean is making the best possible plays in every single turn so far. He's reading Theron like an open book. Now, basically, Sean gets to choose. Does he want to take out the Bishop first with Scrafty's Drain Punch, or does he want to take out Gengar with a tickle with a tickle knockoff? So he definitely has options here, but he can't afford to let this lead get to his head, as he doesn't have many turns of Trick Room left, and he needs to start picking up KOs and close out this game fast.
Yeah, I mean it's still anyone's game, considering Gengar is a fast Pokemon, and Bishop being able to launch Sucker Punches here and there with priority. It's still a tough position for Sean, but he has played the previous rounds very well. Previous turns very well, sorry.
They're playing it safe here. Probably going to go for the... but the tickle goes into the Shrug. The Drain Punch into the Bishop as well. And the Sludge Ball comes out from the Gengar into the Scrafty. Scrafty fades. Finally, Theron gets a call right. And suddenly, the matchup is interesting, to say the least.
Well, Sean has a Terrakion in the bag. Not really ideal to bring out in Trick Room, but maybe he sends out a Metagross this time, since we have not seen his last Pokemon, and I will assume it's his Mega.
And if his last Pokemon is that Metagross, but it is the Heatran, and that is not the Pokemon that Theron wants to see in his in the back. Heatran interestingly has an air balloon, but in this matchup, not very, not that useful for Theron as information, or for Sean as well as an item, as Theron doesn't really have any ground type Pokemon on his team. But Heatran here is going to be able to fire off super effective Heat Waves onto this Bisharp here, which is just protected, as well as Gothel being able to fire off super effective Slice Rock onto this Gengar here to make use of the last turn of his Trick Room. You have to imagine Theron, being the player that he is going to protect with his Gengar here to burn the last turn of Trick Room and possibly even try for the double. Now is the time to try for the double. He needs to get a double protect on the Bisharp in order to win this game.
Yeah. Sean, as you mentioned, Sean's Gothel does threaten the Gengar, however, it still can get hit by Sucker Punch. But using Sucker Punch just leaves Bishop open to Heatran. It's a good choice for Sean to bring in Heatran into this game rather than Metagross. As you mentioned, Metagross does not really have a good matchup against Theron, being weak to Bishop, being weak to Gengar, not really having a fun time here.
Alright, we see Theron taking his time, making his moves here. He has to make the right call. Gengar does go for that protect, trying to stall the last turn of Trick Room. Let's see what Bisharp does go for that Slugger Punch onto Gothel here. Gonna pick up the KO, predicting the Side Shock onto Gengar. Strange play in that case, because if he was going to, as Heat Wave does connect with the Bisharp, it does connect. Should be enough to pick up the KO on the Steel type Bisharp, as it does. As Trick Room is going to expire, and Sean's going to force a 2-on-1 situation between his Terrakion and Heatran against this Mecha Gengar.
Questionable play on Terran's side. He could have just double protected with both his Pokemon, stall out the Trick Room, and then gain momentum from there. His Gengar is very fast Pokemon, and his Bishop can still at least Sucker Punch or Iron Hit if all else fails, and he will still have 2 Pokemon on the field to do work for him.
Sean looks like he's going to probably close up this game here. Gengar is going to outspeed everything on the field first, though. Fire off that Shadow Ball, dropping Heatran to just above 50%. Rock Slide coming out, going to connect on the Gengar. Single target Rock Slide does a whole lot of damage. Finally his turn to get a critical hit, but the Earth Power is going to follow up, and Sean takes game 1.
A lot of good plays there from Sean. Being able to launch off Tickle, Ice Punch, and then going on to the Gengar. Not going onto the Gengar when he's switching into the Bishop. That was an extremely good play on Sean's part, predicting almost every single move that Theron's going to do. Theron did kind of come back later on, but it was a bit little too late.
Theron definitely showing some of his class as a player later on in the game, coming back to at least not make the game a complete walkover, calling the Tickle Drain Punch double target into his Bisharp and promptly protecting. However, Sean showing great character to be able to recover from early game dice rolls against him. So many critical hits, so many special defense drops, but he shows that, you know, as long as you don't let the hacks get into your head, you just might be able to come out with a victory as we move into game 2 here. What do you think, how do you think Theron's going to adjust to how game 1 played out?
Honestly, Theron's probably going to, in terms of Pokemon choice, there's nothing really much I think Theron can change, because in that round it's more of a reading issue, as Theron wasn't really able to read what Sean has. He has to be careful of Ice Punch on Scrafty, sorry.
Yeah.
Scrafty though, and Tickle from Vertital. So at least now he knows that Sean has that option and he's able to avoid it better.
Interestingly enough, Sean did not bring his Amoonguss, despite going for the, a more trick-room-oriented strategy in his first game. I wonder if this is the time to bring out the Amoonguss, as once Thunderous goes down, Amoonguss has pretty free reign over the rest of Theron's team. I mean, you can tell that Theron definitely did have some fear of the Amoonguss leading with his Thunderous there, trying to get off that taunt in case Sean decided to lead with that Amoonguss, but Sean was not gonna have any of that. I'm not just gonna let you taunt my Amoonguss. I'm just gonna, Tickle Ice Punch you, right?
Tickle Ice Punch, best move we've seen so far.
Yeah. But we are gonna move into game 2 here. Sean versus Theron. Sean needs to pull back another game after beating Theron in the first game of this this best of 3. Scrafty Metagross as Sean's leads though, switching it up, bringing in his Mega this time. But Theron's not going to switch it up. He's going to stick with his Thunderous Gengar here.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, it's a bit hard for Theron to switch it up, as bringing in Sylveon onto, say, either possibility of a Amoonguss or Hitchun, or maybe even the Metagross itself isn't really so much of a good idea. And with Kangaskhan, doesn't seem like Theron has intends to use Kangaskhan at all, so it's probably going to be more of a difference in play rather than a difference in selection.
Metagross here is not in a very good position. If it's Mega Metagross in the VGC 2015 metagame tends to be, the faster, frailer variant. And in that case, a quick Mega Evolution and a Shadow Ball into the Metagross slot should pick up the KO. If not, Theron gets his trap online, and Metagross will just be taken out the following turn. So Sean is pretty much forced to switch out his Metagross in the opening turn here, and we shall see if Theron is going to capitalize on that.
His choice of not bringing Metagross in the previous game, as I mentioned, was a good play on this part, because Metagross is threatened by Gengar here, as you can see what's going on right now. So I'm kind of wondering what idea did he had in mind when he brought in his Metagross for the second game.
Alternatively, Theron can't really risk, double targeting into the Scrafty here, as Sean could simply just Mega Evolve his Metagross and just go straight for the Zen Headbutt onto Gengar, taking it right out, shouldn't choose to not attack it. No switches coming out. Is this going to be the turn of truth here, as Theron's Gengar is going to go Mega first.
Well, Scrafty is in a relatively good position against both Bishop and Gengar. However, Scrafty is a single target Pokemon, so you can't really take out both at the same time.
Metagross is going to protect though. That's going to be... As Gengar does go for the Sludge Bomb into Scrafty.
That was a good read on Theron's part, not attacking into the protecting Metagross. Knockoff does comes out onto the Gengar, dealing heavy damage. Not enough to knock it out, but maybe enough to do something about it next turn.
However, Sean is pretty much going to lose his Metagross here. He doesn't really have any way, unless he can survive a Shadow Ball, he doesn't really have a way to get himself out of this position where his Metagross is pinned down by this Gengar in a Shadow Tag trap. And Scrafty here is torn between having to Drain Punch this Bishop and trying to get the KO onto the Gengar. So once again, Sean has to make the correct reads in order to make the most of the situation.
This is also one of those situations where Sean's best play could be also trying to reach that 50% chance of protect. Unlike Theron in the previous game where he had other options rather than going for a second protect, Sean here can't switch out, can't attack. So another protect may be a good idea, maybe his best choice.
He is going to go for it though, doesn't get it. The Shadow Ball does come down from the Mega Gengar onto the Metagross, all the way down, gets the 1-hit KO as expected. Metagross not being able to pull off that double protect is huge.
Knockoff does come out onto Scrafty, not doing much at all, but at least blocking off the Assault Vest.
As Drain Punch does come out from the Scrafty, gonna heal back, gonna get the KO on the Bishop, of course, the 4 times super effective, and heal back all the way up. So both players trading KOs there. Sean trading his Mega Metagross for Theron's Bisharp. And looking at this matchup here, might have been the correct choice, as Bisharp heavily threatens the physically frail Gothitelle that Sean probably has in the back. You know, Sean showed that his Gothitelle can even take a critical hit, Shadow Ball from Mega Gengar. So it's definitely going to be sticking around to set up a Trick Room. And once that happens, the momentum is going to swing in Sean's favor again, and Theron's going to try his best to stop this Trick Room from going up, possibly with his Thunderous that he has in the back.
Yeah, I mean a Taunt here would be useful for Theron's side, but Sean, I mean Thunderous is very known for using Taunt or Thunder Wave, and Taunt being one of his popular moves. So I think Sean would know that Taunt may come out. So even if he does bring in Gothitelle, he probably would decide to do something else with it instead. But bringing out Gothitelle against the Gengar here, not really a good idea.
But Sean has that Heatran again, but in comes Terrakion for Theron. So Terrakion here, of course, starting that Heatran with the super effective close combat. Okay. However, the question is, does he want to risk himself getting Drain Punched again by the Scrafty?
Yeah, he has to select his targets well. Like the problem with Scrafty in the turns before, the super effective close combat is a single target move, unlike Rock Slide, which can hit Heatran for quite a bit, but I don't think it will knock it out.
The question here is Sean going to protect this Heatran, basically? If you protect this Heatran and Theron makes the correct call and close combat into the Scrafty, that'll be a huge play. But no protects coming out, Sludge Bomb going onto the Scrafty, gonna bring it under half close combat. Who does it target down? It targets down the Scrafty. Heatran's gonna get off an attack here. What's it gonna do?
Is it gonna go to the Flash Cannon or the Heat Wave?
Most likely a Heat Wave coming out, but he also could have gone for the Earth Power to bring Terrakion down, but the avoid on the Terrakion, that is rather huge, as that Terrakion most likely holding, either a Longberry or maybe a Focus Sash. If it's the Focus Sash, that was huge.
Well, now we have a Terrakion mirror match, something personally I don't really like to see, as a mirror match is kind of it's a flip of a coin, which Terrakion will go first. But both players still have to take that into account and has to kind of plan accordingly. If my Terrakion is going to attack first, what's the best choice? If my Terrakion goes second, what is the best choice?
We see the Terrakion mirror match at the end of this game. Speed ties are going to be rather crucial here, unless the Thunderous is going to be able to get off a Thunder Wave onto this Terrakion, which may or may not be holding a Longberry. So Theron here is definitely be trying to win the game, but also try to fish out as much information as he can from Sean going into Game 3 if he manages to force it.
Sean still does have a chance to win the Game 2. However, he's quite behind right now, having 2 against 3. And those 3 Pokemon on Theron's side being particularly fast Pokemon like Gengar, Terrakion, and Thunderous, which actually with Prankster can slow down Sean's Pokemon significantly. Sean also has while Sean does have his own Terrakion, he has a Heatran which isn't exactly that fast.
A play that Theron could go here is possibly a Thunder Wave onto the Terrakion as well as a close combat onto Heatran. However, he definitely risks the Heatran protecting here, and Terrakion definitely maybe holding the Longberry. And when you're 1 game down in the best of 3, you can't afford to make those kind of risky plays that might lose you the game. So definitely a more direct play from Theron here could be to double target into the Terrakion and try to pick up the KO, because then he can just really pick up another KO onto Sean's Heatran the following turn. However, again, if Sean's Terrakion goes for the protect, that might be interesting.
But Terrakion goes for a protect, not wanting to risk that speed tie and paralyzing the Sean's Terrakion. Does he have the Longberry? Oh, he doesn't have the Longberry.
Rock Slide is going to connect onto the Thunderous though, dropping it below half. Eats up on it, Citrus Berry going to recover 25% of its hit points. Is Heat Wave from Heatran going to be enough to close out the game here? Is it gonna hit? Is it gonna hit in the first place? It does hit though. Possibly not gonna pick up the KO. Drops it into the red. Now with the Terrakion paralyzed though, you have to think that, you know, Sean's Terrakion is also a focus sash. And in this case, once again, the protect mind games are real at this point in time. Does Sean protect his Terrakion? Does he protect his Heatran instead, expecting Theron to protect his Terrakion and then double target into the Heatran? So this is really coming down to the wire. It's so tense.
Personally, I don't think Sean will protect on this Terrakion if he does have the focus sash, as even getting double targeted, it just means that Heatran gets a free attack off. However, Sean does have to take down Terra's Terrakion, as it is the biggest threat out of the three left.
Theron's Terrakion here is gonna have to fire off the close combat to take out this. But Terrakion goes for the close combat onto Heatran, takes the Fire Steel Pokemon out. Can Sean's Terrakion fight through his paralysis and get the KO onto his opponent's? But Thunderbolt is gonna break that focus sash first, of course, as Rock Slide, and Terrakion is gonna avoid that attack again, and that is basically gonna seal up the game for Sean here. Although, you know, at the end of the day, not too important, as Sean could have was just gonna get close combat to the following turn anyway. So late game hacks there, not really that important. However, you have to remember that Theron's Terrakion did avoid a heat wave earlier on in the game.
So now it's going to be 1-1 for Sean and Theron. I would imagine that Sean will probably realize that his own Metagross doesn't really contribute much to his second game. Not bringing it into the first game actually helped him, as it doesn't become dead weight against Bishop or Gengar. And bringing it into the second game just really puts it in danger, as Sean couldn't do anything, it being trapped there thanks to Mega Gengar, and being threatened due to the Mega Gengar itself that's trapping it, or the Bishop there that could just sucker punch it or knock off.
Exactly. And but that's the thing. When you take the first game of the best of 3, it gives you a bit more, freedom to experiment in your game 2. It's a bit less pressure. Yes, you do want to close out the game in game 2, but if you lose, you have a second shot at it, and that's exactly what we're seeing now. As we're moving into a really exciting game 3 of this top 8 match here. Sean's team, of course, is that Metagross, Terrakion, Heatran, Scrafty, Gothitelle, and Amoonguss. Whereas Theron has Thundurus, Bisharp, Gengar, Kangaskhan, Terrakion, and Sylveon.
I would think that Sean will probably just bring in the same team as he did in the first round. I mean, as you mentioned, the second game he did try to experiment. It didn't really work out for him. So I think a smart idea would be just to go back to what works and then try and play well from there onwards. However, Theron does know Sean's own tricks, especially the tickle from the Gothitelle. So it's going to be harder for Sean to win game 3 with the same strategy in mind. However, based on game 1 and game 2, what he brought in game 1 and game 2, his game 1 team was probably the best idea.
Sean has to be thinking about bringing back his Gothitelle into game 3 here. Gothitelle did so much work for Sean in the first game. However, he dropped it to the bench in the second game, and I think he did miss that special bulk that Gothitelle provides for his team.
Yeah, being able to survive even a critical hit from Mega Gengar is quite a big thing for Gothitelle. Setting up that trick room, allowing Sean to actually sweep from there.
But we are going to go into game 3. This is it. The road to top 4 and 80 championship points. Sean is going to go back to Gothitelle and finally bring in his Amoonguss here, as Theron leads with Gengar, Mega Gengar, and Sylveon.
Yeah, different leads here from both sides. Sylveon wasn't brought up by Theron in the previous games, but in this position, can't really do much.
Sean is pretty much free to set up Trick Room here. Amoonguss can Rage Powder away any potential Shadow Balls onto Gothitelle, protecting it from fainting from a crit Shadow Ball and a Hyper Voice double up before it gets up the Trick Room. And with Gothitelle being very specially bulky and Amoonguss having that poison type, Hyper Voice isn't going to be doing too much to both of these Pokemon here.
And once Sean has managed to set up the Trick Room, he can actually start sporing and maybe dealing damage using Gothitelle itself. not the highest attack of his team, but if you can put the opponent to sleep, you can actually tickle them down to death. No pun intended for the move.
Another possible play I can see Sean making here is actually protecting his Gothitelle and going for the Spore onto Sylveon, because Sylveon can't switch out. And Amoonguss is going to survive Shadow Ball, Hyper Voice double target all day long, so it basically has a free Spore here, and therefore frees up Gothitelle to be able to set up, actually sporing the Gengar would be a better decision here, basically allowing Gothitelle to set up a free trick in the following turn.
As you said, Sylveon doesn't really damage either Pokemon very well with the Poison type or Amoonguss, and Gothitelle special bulk. So scoring Gengar allows Gengar to launch off, allowing Sean to not be worried too much with the Gengar. And if Terran does decide to switch out his Gengar, he can scoring whatever comes in. But
we do see the protect him out. The Sludge Bomb is going to target down this Amoonguss though, dropping it above 50%. Hyper Voice is going to knock him, will knock it out from this range. Amoonguss probably going to go for a Spore here. The question is, what does he choose? Amoonguss actually goes for the Sludge Bomb onto Sylveon here. That's
a weird choice for Sean.
That is
he had he had the same Rage Powder Trick Room going on there, but he didn't go for it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm trying to reason why he would actually go for that play.
Yeah, there's nothing much Terran could have done against a Rage Powder Trick Room.
I mean, even if he read the, even if he wanted to take Gothitelle, a Spore play there would have made a lot more sense onto either the Sylveon or the Gengar. But going for the Slug from there, you see that Sylveon is so especially bulky, not even going to take more than 50% for that super effective Sludge Bomb.
Yeah, we see players in the crowd here asking, shouting out why out loud, also questioning that weird play on Sean's part.
I think, if anything, Sean has got himself into a position here where he can Rage Powder, knock out his own Amoonguss, and in the process set up Trick Room and get a Trick Room Super for free.
However, Amoonguss does get knocked out thanks to the Sludge Bomb, so a single target Hyper Voice will deal a lot more damage.
As Gothitelle does go for that Trick Room, you see single target Hyper Voice, not even bringing Gothitelle into the yellow there. Gothitelle is so specially bulky. So that might be what Sean was actually playing for. As you see in this case, he sacrifices his own Amoonguss there, planning ahead so that he can set up Trick Room and get in his Trick Room Sweeper in on the same turn.
Yeah, in hindsight, that was actually a brilliant move when you think about it that way. Because when you set up Trick Room, you wouldn't want to waste Trick Room like switching in. Even though I mentioned that you can put an opponent's Pokemon to sleep, you're not dealing enough damage in the limited time you have in Trick Room. So actually sacrificing the Amoonguss allows Sean to bring in the Heatran for free, as you mentioned. So now Heatran is free to just launch off attacks under Trick Room, going before either Gengar or Sylveon.
And with Heatran in now against Sylveon, the matchup is definitely in Sean's favor, as the Gengar is basically pinned down by a Heat Wave Psyshock double target, as Sylveon isn't going to be doing enough damage back to Sean's team in the Trick Room.
No.
They're on here has to be thinking about switching out his Gengar. If he wants to win the late game, he has to stall off this Trick Room and send in his Gengar later on in the game to pick up some KOs. If not, losing his Mega Gengar here could prove fatal in the matchup.
I mean, sometimes switching in and out can be fatal as you're giving your opponent a free attack. But in this case, we're talking about Mega Gengar, Terra's main Pokemon to attack, to deal the damage out onto Sean's own Pokemon. So conserving the Mega Gengar to the point where Trick Room is up, so Mega Gengar can be the fast Pokemon that it is, dealing damage with heavy damage with its own attacks. Would be the better choice for Terran here. But Gengar goes for a Protect, stalling out that his own way.
Let's see what Gothitelle goes for. Psyshock into the Gengar, the safe play here. Hyper Voice is going to target down both of these Pokemon. Gothitelle into the red. Heatran probably going to fire off a Heat Wave here. Doesn't connect with the Sylveon. It does connect this time. Sylveon dropping down into the yellow. Another Heat Wave should be enough to pick up the KO. As Gengar here is in a really bad position. He is basically forced to switch out or lose his Mega Pokemon. However, whatever switches in is going to take a huge Heat Wave and Psyshock double target. He can't switch into the Terrakion into a super effective side shot. He can't switch into the Bisharp into a super effective Heat Wave, and he can't switch in the Thunderous, which is going to take neutral damage from both of these attacks.
It's pretty much a perfect coverage that Sean has onto the Gengar slot. Any Pokemon that switch in, although it might resist one, it will take super effect from the other. Or just have neutral damage from either side. Yeah, as you mentioned, it's not a good position for Gengar at all.
So in actual fact, it was if Sean intended to play himself in this position, that was brilliant foresight. Reading not just one, but 2 turns ahead in, imagining the position with his Heatran and his Gothitelle on the field up against a Sylveon and a Gengar under Trick Room. Gengar is going to switch out though, probably going to see the Thunderous coming. That is his best switch in, as Thunderous is going to make an appearance here. Going to eat a lot of damage though. Gothitelle going to protect here, not going to take any damage. Great play by Sean. Hyper Voice going to deal negligible damage to this Heatran as Sean gets his trap online for one more turn.
I'm guessing Sean really just wants to take out Sylveon so that Sylveon won't be able to knock out Gothitelle, as Gothitelle is quite an important teammate on Sean's side, being able to deal super effective damage on both Gengar or maybe a Terrakion coming in.
I'm really interested to know what Sean's Gothitelle's item is. It's not the Citrus Berry, it's not the Chesto Berry because it has that Protect and not the rest.
It could be a mental hook.
It could be the mental hook considering how much he's been relying on a Trick Room strategy. But in that case, I wouldn't see why he's so hesitant to bring out Gothitelle in front of Thunderous. We shall see. Does Theron go for the taunt onto Gothitelle to try to prevent any, tickle shenanigans from coming out? Or is he just going to try to stall the Trick Room by protecting his Gengar and switching out as he's done previously? Gengar is going to go for the Protect though. Is Sean going to read into this play and double into the Thunderous? Goes for the Thunder Wave onto Heatran, going for Broke here, trying to get the full paralysis.
Sasha does come out onto the Thunderous, reading well that Terran's going to protect on the Gengar, dealing quite significant amount of damage, proccing his Citrus Berry. Let's see whether Heatran gets his attack off.
As Hidden Power gets off from the Heatran here, Hidden Power Ice takes out the Thunderous. Huge plays by Sean here, and fantastic play to preserve that information all the way into Game 3.
I think Sean has been playing a very good game in Game 1 and in Game 3. I mean, his Amogus play and start with protecting our Godzilla was quite questionable, but sacrificing the Amogus, bringing the Heatran, getting an extra turn or Trick Room to work around with, actually is giving him advantage right now. As you can see, his Trick Room is still up, he still threatens at least the Gengar. Even though Terrakion can protect, Gengar is still quite open.
And now Gengar cannot switch out, and it has burned his Protect. So unless Theron really tries to go for that double Protect here, he's gonna lose his Mega Pokemon, and then it will be a 3-on-1. Terrakion goes for the Protect though. Does Gengar try for the double? You have to imagine he's gonna try for it. Does it get it? Gengar fails! He tries to paralyzed! And Gothitelle does get the Side Shock into the second Protect, and the Trick Room expires.
That was a big move for Terran's side. I mean, if Sean actually managed to read Terran and knocked off the Gengar, Sean will have a good advantage. Sure, Rock Slide could come out from Terrakion, but you can only rely on luck so much. But now you have Gengar and Terrakion on the field, fast Pokemon, heavy hitting Pokemon, and Trick Room is no longer active.
I think Sean's last Pokemon here has to be that Scrafty, and he can play himself into a position where he can try to maybe sacrifice his Gothitelle here, sacrifice his Heatran here, protect his Gothitelle, bring in the Scrafty, buy his Gothitelle an extra turn, or force a situation where Gothitelle and Gengar basically has to take out the Gothitelle and therefore buy him a free turn with a Scrafty.
May not be actually too good of a move, as Terrakion does threaten Scrafty in the end. So unless you're trying to get intimidated out, which still puts Scrafty in quite a dangerous position against Terrakion, Sean is not really having the momentum that he used to have in the turn before.
Theron calling that protect the double target into Terrakion there. We won't ever know whether it was a double target. We'll have to ask Sean after the match. But You have to presume that Sean is going after the double target into Terrakion there. Doesn't pay off with Theron's brilliant read.
I mean, you would think that Theron, usually alternating protects between your Pokemon on the left and the right is not really a good idea, but actually it worked out in this case for Theron. Protect does come out of the hit turn and Shadow Ball goes onto the Gothitelle, knocking it out.
Sean electing to sacrifice his Gothitelle here, possibly trying to get in his Scrafty and prevent Terrakion from being able to one-hit KO his Heatran with that -1 close combat. With Scrafty flying off that Intimidate ability, gonna draw Terrakion's attack here. I mean, it's still a lot over for Sean. He definitely can still clutch out this game, especially with that Assault Vest Scrafty taking so little from Gengar's Sludge Bombs. A fake out Earth Power into Terrakion is gonna be enough to take it out, provided Heatran doesn't get fully paralyzed here. And then it's going to be a 2-on-1 situation with the Gengar. Gengar can't take out either of his Pokemon with a Shadow Ball or a Sludge Ball.
Theron still has the option to protect though, and if Sean reads that wrongly and double targets into a protect, I think Sean pretty much will lose this game.
Terrakion there though has burned his protect the previous turn, so it only has a 33% chance of pulling off a protect. Gengar is going to protect this turn. Is Terrakion going to protect? Terrakion tries to go for protect and he gets the protect. That is huge, and that basically seals up the game for Sean here. Oh, it went for the close combat. My mistake. Terrakion did not protect the previous turn, so it was free to protect and burn out that fake out from the Scrafty this turn, and that is basically going to seal up the game for Sean here.
Yeah, now Sean has a very slow Scrafty, a very slow Heatran. Terrakion can just pick his target and just take out whatever he wants in one turn. Probably going to take out the Scrafty, I imagine. And Gengar just just start attacking on Heatran itself. Because as Scrafty has a Assault Vest.
Scrafty definitely the bigger threat on Sean's side of the field right now. A quick Sludge Bomb, close combat double target should be able to take it out. As that is exactly what Theron's going for. Sludge Bomb with a critical hit, though, drops Scrafty below 50%. Close combat, going to be able to drop the Fighting Dark Pokemon, as Heatran against the world probably isn't going to end too well for the Heatran here. Heatran is going to fire off that Earth Power onto Terrakion, though, try to do as much damage as it can. Drops it down to his Focus Sash, and that is pretty much going to be game.
I think the main turning point here is Sean's weird decision to protect on the last turn of Trick Room. Because as I mentioned earlier, that usually you want to make full use of Trick Room, deal as much damage as possible, not wasting it at all. And Sean didn't exactly do that with that last turn. He could have...
But we see a misclick from Theron, Sludge Bombing into the Heatran. Heatran survives! And gets the Heat Wave. It's a good... Allow Theron to clutch out the game here.
Theron could have paid badly for that display, but...
very fortunate for Theron there.
He just seemed to be careful, like even though he's bleeding next time.
As you see, a very gracious handshake from the opponents there. Yeah, very well played best of 3. A round of applause for both players here. Very well played games. From Sean made some out of these world plays in this set of 3, and he had nothing to be ashamed of losing to the player that beat him in Swiss once. He has to not only beat him once, but beat him again with a team he already lost to the first time. Taking a game off in such an impressive fashion is already, such an achievement for Sean here. Sean is going to be knocked out at top 8. Theron advances to the semifinals here.
Yeah, I mean, Sean did, as you can see in the first game, Sean made extremely good plays. Going off with the unexpected Ice Punch, with the Tickle, and not attacking into the switching B-Sharp. And then in the third game, he actually managed to plan ahead, sacrificing his Mungus so that he can have an extra turn or Trick Room he can play around with his Heatran. So, even though it was questionable at the start, as he could have set out Trick Room for free, he actually did plan ahead. Because setting out Trick Room early, that one turn may be the important factor in this game.
Exactly, but that's enough from us. Let's hear it from the players who actually played in the top 8. Let's have both on stream. Sean first, and then
let's have Sean. Yeah.
Let's have Sean first. I think he deserves it. I mean, that was an amazingly well played set by him.
Alright, I'm gonna pass this mic to Sean.
Test. Oh, I can hear myself. Okay.
Alright, joining me on stream now is Sean, who was just knocked out of top 8 by Theron, but Sean, amazingly well played games there. I'm sure you probably aren't going away feeling too bummed out about that.
Yeah. I guess I did my best, so I wouldn't say
I mean, there were so many dice rolls against you, and yet you still managed to pull out such close games against Theron. After you knew that Theron was going to be your top 8 opponent, like, how did you feel knowing that you already lost to him once in Swiss?
Well, I was kind of prepared for Theron because when I played him in the Swiss rounds, it was actually a very close game. We ended up playing to the last turn where the speed tie determined who the winner was. So it was very close. We had a bit of ups and downs, critical hits here, hacks here and there. But I guess Theron managed to pull through, so yeah, congrats to Theron.
Well, it's showing some great sportsmanship here from Sean. I want to talk about that play, the tickle ice punch play onto the Thunderous. How confident were you that Gengar was going to protect that turn? And how confident were you that you were going to pick up the KO with that ice punch?
Actually, I wasn't very confident. I felt that the tickle might be needed to take out the ice punch because Theron's Thunderous had a Citrus Berry. Also, I kind of figured out that Gengar might go on the defensive on that turn, trying to protect to prevent a knockoff, and I took advantage of that turn and double targeted in Thunderous. Whether or not I picked up on the KO, it didn't really matter, but I felt that that was the play needed for that turn.
Alright, well, I think you've had a few close calls in the previous tournaments. Finally, you're back in the top cut again. Definitely looking forward to see you play more in the future. If those are the games that we're going to be having on stream, those are going to be some really awesome games. Look forward to seeing you at Nationals. If we have it.
Alright, yeah.
And thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Alright, thank you.
Thank you. And now we're going to have Theron on stream.
Hello? Yes. Okay.
And joining me now is Theron, who after going undefeated in Swiss, continues to trudge on in this regional tournament with a 2-1 victory over Sean. Theron, how do you feel after that set of 3?
Almost horrified. The end. I think you know what I mean when I say the end, right?
I mean, you must have been pretty nervous to make that misclick at the end.
I was, to be honest, it was if I lost due to that, because I would really blame myself, because that is completely on me. It's a complete misclick. I was rushing my inputs at that point in time. I was like, I could see it right there, and like, purple and dark blue, shadow ball, such boom.
Well, it's been a long day for all of us, so it's said that the best players are the ones that make the fewest mistakes, and in that case, fortunately, that mistake didn't cost you. And,
I was pretty sure that my Gengar would be able to take one heat wave, but if it was followed by a burn or critical, then it's really
a burn and a critical hit would have definitely turned the match around in Sean's favor. So definitely a misplay there. Yeah. But well, you played well enough earlier on in the game, getting the reads you needed to get in order, so that that mistake at the end, in the end, didn't really make a difference.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you play well in the beginning, you kind of have this cushion, this buffer for mistakes at the end, whether it's like your opponent coming back or mistakes on your own end. And thankfully enough, that was enough. But it's still, I admit, it should not have come to that. So I need to be more careful with that. I'll watch myself. Yeah.
No more sludge bombing Heatrans in the top 4 and the finals, I assume.
Hopefully.
Alright, but again, to win out against an opponent who played so well, Sean basically, no disrespect, not to take anything away from you, but Sean was outplaying you turn
Yes.
after turn.
I agree. Especially in that game one, and I saw that Ticker and Ice Punch, I'm like, why didn't I switch to Bishop?
Right? So
Yeah, but
being able to recover from those positions, it props to you showing the mental strength not to go on tilt there. So hopefully, you are going to go further in this tournament.
yeah, and I'd really like to thank Sean for the really great battle. It's like one of the best battles I've had in a long time. And yeah,
For
Sean,
sure.
thank you. Hope to battle with you soon.
For Amira's eye as well, great match with the cast on trio, and I'm glad everyone here was able to see such an amazing set of 3 matches. Hopefully we'll see you back here in the finals, but good luck going forward. Thank you very much.
Yeah.